y'all, welcome back. So we have not played Animal Crossing in a while, as you can see from it being so far down on my games list. So because of that, I figured it's about time that we jump back into Shadowmoss and figure out what we're doing. The last couple times we've done our cidery, our meadery, and our little farm spot for Dobie. So this left side is looking pretty good, and I'm gonna kind of keep with this farmer theme. And we're gonna work on the right side so that when you actually come in, it hopefully looks a little bit more put together. And we're gonna do like our kind of downtown farmers market area. As you can see, I've got some random crap thrown around here because I'm trying to figure out the color scheme. I still don't know what I want to do with that yet. Also, I've got a bunch of random houses on the beach here. They don't have spots of where they're gonna go yet, but we're gonna kick them out and just shove them in the back of the island and forget about it, because that will be something for another day. Able Sisters I do want to keep in this area because, like I said, this is going to be like our little town area, so I want to keep their shop here. Another building that I'm wanting to have in this area is Antonio's house. He's probably not going to be on the beach anymore, but I want him to run our like farm to table restaurant, which will also be in this area. But yeah, I don't know how this is going to turn out, what exactly I want to do, but let's just jump into the speed build and figure it out as we go along. Before jumping into building, I realized just how unprepared I was for this video, because I hadn't even changed my character's outfit from the last video we did on our cidery and meadery. So the first priority was to throw on a fresh outfit and get our hair done. I've been feeling a bit drained lately, so something relaxed with a black and blue color scheme seemed to suit my mood. I love being able to completely change my character's whole look on a whim, so it is shocking that I forgot to do this before recording the intro. Alright, now that we are looking good, it's time to actually start building. So I came into this without a super clear plan, as usual, and just decided to go for it. I had a few inspo pics I found on Pinterest, but nothing I was following super closely. My brain is sort of overthinking shit out, so figuring out a specific plan was not on the table for this build, and I just started moving stuff around until it looked good enough to me. Along this cliff, I wanted to line up a bunch of shops to be our little town area. This section I'm working on right now is where I want to put the Able Sisters store. Since the tailor shop is quite bright and cutesy looking, I use some of those storefronts and castle walls to help it blend in a bit more with the sort of small town Main Street vibes I was going for here. There were pretty noticeable gaps between the building and the items I was using to cover the sides, so I wanted to put something in front here to hide those a bit. I tried using this covered counter to do that because I like the idea of keeping the shop window visible, but the gap was still noticeable and I just wasn't loving it. So I scrapped that plan and instead used one of those storefronts in the red swatch. This covered the gap well and tied in nicely with the other ones I used on the left, which helped the store look more built in. This gap on the right was trickier to cover as most items couldn't be pushed all the way over because of the entrance. I really wish items could be placed closer together because the gaps between things that weren't designed to tuck in nicely together is such a pain to work around. Since I was trying to cram in a bunch of items together in a tight area and attempt to make them look like they belong together, I was definitely pulling my hair out a bit with this issue for this build especially. Eventually though, I do find that this castle archway can be placed closer to the tailor shop so that the gap is fairly small. So that's what I went with here. So the tailor shop will be on the left end of this Main Street area, then on the far right we'll have Antonio's farm to table restaurant. This middle section I filled with a couple of fake storefronts. The one next door to the Able Sisters will be a bookstore, the one in the center will be a toy store, Then the shop next to the restaurant on the right will be a convenience store. Trying to get everything to fit and tuck in together nicely was quite the ordeal. I had to pick up and place down and scoot around everything so much. I cut out a bunch of it because it was just too painful to watch. Another thing that would really help make building this game less tedious would have been if they made it so that we had a build mode on our main island like we do in Happy Home Paradise. Imagine being able to have that top view and move stuff around without your character having to physically do everything themselves. That would have been so amazing. Even if accessing that mode locked you into building a set distance from your character at a time, it still would have been so helpful. Fingers crossed that they implement this into the next Animal Crossing game whenever that comes out eventually. As I'm working on puzzling this area together, I'll go ahead and share some villager updates with y'all. In our last build, we chatted about how Chevre was getting cozy with everyone except her partner Nan. So while I was ordering and recoloring items off camera, I caught Chevre and Cherry flirting again. I guess these two are starting a garden together or something, because once again, Chevre is complimenting Cherry on her skills. Then Cherry comes on strong, talking about how she's down with getting dirty and all that. So yeah, these ladies are definitely together. Then later I saw Nan and Chevre in the same area, completely ignoring each other. I waited to see if they start talking or even just acknowledge each other, but no. Chevre went about her business and started fishing, then Nan just bailed. I used to see them hanging out together all the time, but lately they've been so distant. I don't know what happened, but it is not looking good. I'm sure they'll work it out eventually. I mean, they have each other's photos up in their houses and are absolutely at least platonic soulmates, but this does seem pretty serious. I haven't seen anything happen between them, but if you have any theories, please share them with me in the comments because I'm at a loss. Another villager to update you all on is Antonio. Thus far he's been pretty chill, minding his own business, but when I was working on this build, he was super busy chatting up all the ladies. Puddles was talking to him about how she's got lots of new moves to try out and is going to be his cheerleader. This is not surprising coming from our silicone bodysuit babe Puddles. Later on he came on to her and was complimenting her on how buff her body is looking, and he's right, she's a hottie. I also saw him and Barbara chatting it up a couple times. In one of these conversations, he was coaching her on how to yell at him better. So they've got some sort of power thing going on here that I'm not gonna get into, but hey, good for them. You'd think that'd be enough, but no. I then saw him and Nan chatting it up. He started off by saying he should call her Miss Nan, and then she came back saying that she should call him Maestro. So once again, I stumbled into a way more private conversation than I bargained for, but hey, at least Nan seems to be moving on from Chevre, or at least having some fun of her own. On a non-innuendo note, apparently he and Hazel got into a fight. She said that he stinks and he got super pissed about it, stomping around while she couldn't be happier frolicking in the background. Not a care in the world after telling him off. I'm thinking she wanted to humble him a bit after seeing all the other ladies fawning over him lately. It's like he got a new restaurant business and now he thinks he's hot shit. So he does need to cool off a bit, so thank you, Hazel. It was also our boy Roswell's birthday, so my best pal Barbara and I threw him a nice party. So there are some wholesome vibes going on here too. Alright, back to the actual build. I did the pathing through the downtown area off camera because that again was a lot of tedious back and forth that just wouldn't be interesting to watch, so that's all done now. On the left side of the beach, I'm putting a little farmer's market. We're gonna have a lot of farmers and artisan good producers on this island, so having a farmer's market just makes sense. We've already built Dobie his veggie farm, Cherry her orchard and cidery, and Hazel has her apiary and meadery. If you want to watch any of those, I'll put a link to the playlist with all of my Animal Crossing speed builds on the screen here. Eventually, I'll also make Shep a backwoods mushroom foraging area too, which should be a super fun time when we get to it. So yeah, plenty of consumable products to be selling here. In real life, I also used to volunteer with a nonprofit that worked with local producers and farmers markets to connect the community to where their food came from. In addition to that, I was also a past intern at a farm animal sanctuary and still volunteer there occasionally. Those are both really the start of my nonprofit career, so I have a special place in my heart for farms and farmers markets. But yeah, those are probably some of the main inspirations as to why I really wanted to include this area and all my other farm artisan builds on this island. Plus, I just really love food. The right side of the beach will be our outdoor dining area for Antonio's Farm to Table restaurant. I really thought about putting some deck pathing on the beach here because it makes sense, but I thought having all the dark woods from the tables and chairs and fencing on top of even more wood for a path would just be too much. So even though having a restaurant dining area on top of just straight sand wouldn't be a good idea in real life, it doesn't pose any issues in game, and I like the contrast of the light sand against the darker woods. Plus, I just wanted to be a little lazy and didn't want to lay any more pathing down. Speaking of being lazy, I know there's been a longer gap between Animal Crossing videos and even longer for my Sims videos, but my brain has been fried lately, so I haven't felt motivated to plan out and execute any builds. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and I work in this field, so it's been super busy at work with events and stuff, especially since I tend to procrastinate on things and it's finally catching up with me. Also, my partner has been away for most of the month with their own work stuff, so I've been taking care of the house and dogs myself. So yeah, time and brain power is low right now. What I've been doing that's helped get me feeling recharged and motivated is laying in bed, binge watching Bee and Puppy Cat, and playing through dating simulators. I recently started playing Love Letter from Thief X and it has been great so far. I posted a video of me playing through the first story in it and had so much fun editing it. Way different vibes, but feel free to check it out if you're into that sort of thing. I had to force myself to stop though so I could get this video out before doing the next part because it's been way too long and probably most of you wouldn't appreciate 2 dating sim games in a row. But yeah, playing through that and replaying Dream Daddy while binge watching shows has really helped get me out of this funk. At least enough to do this build for you all. I feel like since it's spring, we're supposed to feel energized and motivated, but that's just not happening for me. So if you're also in the same boat, I definitely feel you. Make sure to take time to do what you need to help yourself rest and recharge, even if that's hiding away in a dark room, watching cartoons and playing silly games. Enough rambling, I should probably say more things about the build. This rock here, I decided to make into a more special dining area. So if you want to have a nice brunch with your pals or a fancy dinner date, this would be the spot. I put a log bench on one side of the table, mainly because I ran out of regular wood once again, so I couldn't craft any more of those other chairs, and this is what I had on hand. But I also think it sort of works with the whole rustic dining thing we have going on here. At least that's what I'm telling myself, because although I've scraped together enough motivation to get this build done, I definitely don't have enough to go resource grinding, so this works. Most of the main features have all been added in. Now I'm going through and doing a bit of landscaping along the beaches here. I threw down some rope fencing that I had on hand, because it looks beachy and fences help pretty much any area look more put together and intentional, which are definitely the vibes we want to help enhancing since I was not feeling very put together nor intentional myself while building this. I also put down a bunch of different rocks and weeds and wheat fields along the shoreline to help it look more natural. Next to puzzling together the storefronts, this was probably the next most challenging aspect of this build because you can't plant anything nor place any fences very close to the water. Some objects can get right on the waves, but it's hard to place them there, especially since I had already put in my fences and felt too lazy to pick them up and redo them. I worked with what I had though, and in the end, I think the beachfront looks pretty good. But that's about it. I'm just going through, putting in some finishing touches everywhere and changing up a few small things here and there. So let's go into the final tour so you can get a better look at how it all turned out in the end. Alright, let's do our final walkthrough. So yeah, the intention was to finish the areas leading all the way up to the airport, but that just didn't happen. Everything took way longer than I expected, as they always seem to do, and I barely had enough motivation to get the main sections done here, so our entrance is gonna have to wait yet again, and that's just fine. But yeah, after we get through the unfinished section, we come to our small town Main Street area. Able Sisters is the first shop, so super convenient for stopping by after your plane lands. All these storefronts around it definitely help tone down the cheery cartoon vibes it gives off and blends it in with the rest of the block better. Next door we have the little bookstore. If you saw my antique home build, you know I love books, so it's no surprise we have another bookshop here. This middle building is a toy/game shop. I love these plushies and wanted to include them in my island somehow, so I made a spot for them here. After that, we have a sort of convenience store. These store shelves cover the gaps really well and help this place look more like a functional shopping area, so making a convenience store with them made the most sense. On the end here, we have Antonio's Farm to Table restaurant. I haven't decorated the interior yet, but I like the pop of color the exterior is bringing here. And I just realized making it yellow matches his shirt. I definitely didn't plan that when I edited his home, but I'm glad it works. Moving to the beach, this is our private dining room. You gotta get your reservation in early if you want a seat at the good table where you don't have to sit in the sand. Off camera, I cooked up some food for the table and put in this pizza oven to really finish off this area. Walking through these lovely pergolas, we make our way to the main outdoor dining section for everyone who didn't plan ahead enough to make a reservation and just walked in because they don't have their shit together. This is where I'd be sitting for sure. Does this make sense in real life? No, but I think it looks cute in Animal Crossing, and that's the most important thing. I really like this glowing moss paired with the seaweed in places. I think it just seems like stuff that could actually wash up on shore, and it probably would look pretty cool walking through at night. The spring weeds aren't ideal, but they'll probably look much better in the fall, which is what I'll most likely set my dream address to once the island is finished. So just pardon those for now. Lastly, on the left, we have our farmer's market. I really love all the special cakes in the game, so I reserved a significant portion of the market for a bakery stand. I am also a huge dessert person in real life, so a good dessert spread is a must. There's a few plants to buy in the middle that were probably supplied by the rooftop greenhouse in my character's home. Then at the end we had the produce from all the farms that we built previously. That's everything. Even though I was feeling a bit drained during this whole build and definitely walked away from many areas saying good enough, looking at it again now, I do think it turned out well, and I hope you like it too. I'm gonna plop myself down next to the best section, the desserts, as we close out here. But yeah, if you're also in a bit of a funk right now, know that I am right there with you. Do what you need to take care of yourself, and know that everything passes eventually. Remember, be kind to yourself today, and I'll see you next time.